guys, I've been meaning to do a video about train travel for a long time because I feel like a lot of people want to travel by train but aren't quite sure how to do it because it's not as big in the US as it is in Europe, and they just don't know where to start. So I thought I'd give you two videos. One is just going to be straightforward, how to book a train ticket, like find out where you're leaving from, find out where you're going to, and then book a ticket, and just a few tips there. And then second video is going to be saving money, because there's a lot of tricks of the trade which you have to know, which you have to be here to know. So and how I've saved money on train travel. Okay, so two videos. One is how to book a train ticket, and things to consider, and then how to save money, right? Okay, so this is just a map of the National Rail all over England to Scotland. As you can see, there are not a lot of east to west lines, which makes some traveling difficult. So going north to south is almost always easier than going east to west. In fact, in the 1960s, they used to have loads of trains, which, like Cambridge to Oxford, was connected at one point, but they got rid of it, and now there's only a bus. So some train travel is not feasible, or isn't worth your time, like Cambridge. If I went to Bath, I would have to go from Cambridge down to London and then out to Bath. If I want to go to Oxford, go from Cambridge down to London and out to Oxford. So sometimes it's not always worth your time. However, places that I have traveled to by train is Cambridge to Ely, Cambridge to York, Cambridge to Edinburgh, but that's easy because it's just, once you get on this line, once you get to Peterborough, it's just straight up. So very nice. And then when you're in Edinburgh, definitely recommend going to Glasgow. The trains in Scotland are nicer. I even think they have free Wi-Fi, but I can't remember. So, all right. So there you go. So that is why it might be more difficult to travel than you may think it should be. Okay. Now in the local area, there are quite a few different train stations, but you need to know where you're going and where you're going from. Now, if you don't live in Cambridge, I don't highly recommend people to drive into Cambridge and park there. One, it's expensive. Two, traffic around the train station is horrible all the time, always. If you live in Cambridge, don't drive to London. That's why a lot of people live in Cambridge, is so that they commute by train. The train can take 45 minutes, well, actually around 50 minutes from Cambridge to London, whereas it'll almost take you 2 hours to get to London from Cambridge by driving. When I lived in Cambridge, I would either cycle if I was going to come and go during the day, or I would take a taxi if I was coming back at night. There's a taxi rank right outside of the station, so you just get in and tell them where you're going. Now that I live outside of Cambridge, I go to Waterbeach, but I belong to the sailing club, so I can park my car there for free. There is some limited parking, so if you're going during the week, you can park on the high street, I'm told, and then walk down, so give yourself some more time. So if you live in Newmarket and you're thinking about driving to Cambridge, I almost would highly recommend you go to Waterbeach. It will not be as hard to get to. And Waterbeach has machines there for you to get your tickets. A lot of other people go to Ely, which is quite popular, and then Brandon and Thetford. Again, Brandon and Thetford have limited parking, but how will you be able to know what is at those stations is you can actually Google the station names. If you said Thetford Rail Station, this would come up, and it'll tell you how to get to and from the station, what's there, how many parking spots there are, and who maintains them, which is quite good, and how much they would cost. What kind of ticket buying facilities are there? Now, if you're going to some place like, I think Newmarket doesn't have a machine that you can get your tickets out of. However, they have people on the train that will come around and sell you your tickets, which is very good. And facilities, which is good, about toilets and things like that. If you are a nervous traveler and need to know information like that, definitely look up the train station. So those are my few tips. Ely is a good place to park, because I think it's free, but you have to see in the Facebook groups on where people park. because I'm not quite sure. But Waterbridge is where I go from in Cambridge. I have traveled from Newmarket as well. So, right. So anytime you're planning any trip, before you do anything, don't ask anybody how the best way it is to travel from X to Z. Go to googlemaps.com. There used to be a website called transportdirect.info that the government had, which would do the same thing that Google Maps does, but they stopped doing it because Google Maps is so good. So it will tell you all the ways to travel. So there's no reason to ask anybody else. And actually, the timings are quite spot on. So for this exercise, I've done Cambridge to London. So if you're going to drive and leaving now, it would take you an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours. If you're going to train, now I should have said earlier, but if you're planning ahead on where you're going to go, you're going to take the train from Cambridge. Just know that the train that leaves a quarter past or a quarter to or close to those numbers are always going to be the shortest one. So you can see here it's about, it's almost 50 minutes long, whereas this one's 100 or an hour and a half. So if you leave a quarter to the hour or quarter past the hour, it's only going to be around 45 to 50 minutes. Can show you walking and cycling. So that's why Google Maps is where you should go to see on how to get anywhere you want to go, especially in England. That is the best place to go. Right. So I've done a few searches already. So I'll go back and say, so you can see what this is. There are plenty of places that you can buy your train tickets from. There's Red Spotted Hanky, Trainline, but you can also buy it straight from National Rail. So you just put in your station. So you've decided what station you're going to leave from, and then you know where you're going. There are 2 train stations that you can go to from Cambridge to London and Ely. All those ones will come in to either London King's Cross or London Liverpool Street. Now, they are quite smart because they do change the cost between different train stations in order to funnel traffic properly. So in general, London Liverpool Street will be cheaper during the week than King's Cross and vice versa. So King's Cross is generally cheaper on the weekends because they want to have certain traffic go certain different places. So we're going to say, just so you can see what it looks like, we're going to go from Cambridge to London King's Cross. This is next Monday during the busy time. So we can see if I'm going to go to London King's Cross on a Monday, it's going to cost me around 40 quid. I can save £4 if I take the longer later route. Now if I go to London Liverpool Street, the same route that would take me in around 8:45 and 8:50, right? £40 is only £21. So it's something to note. So you're not stuck with one station. So this is just one person. And then on Saturday, if I go from Cambridge to London King's Cross, because the weekends are considered off-peak, it's only going to cost me £16.60. So this is why I always prefer to travel by train to London rather than driving. Okay, so that is how to type in where you're going, because you know where you're going, you know where you're coming from, and when you want to leave. Off-peak is usually on the weekends, and it is usually before 8:30. So just keep that in mind, and after 5, because that's when people are going from work. Now it says, oh, if you buy here, it'll cost you £6, £5.90 if you buy your travel card there. I'm not keen on these travel cards, and I'll tell you why. Now, that is actually cheaper than buying just a straight-out travel card, and I'll show you the chart that will explain what I'm saying. Right, so London is broken up into different zones. 1 to 2 usually covers your main, the London Eye, Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, all those places. So if you're going to buy a travel card with your train ticket, it's only going to cost you £5.90. But if you just buy a one-day travel card, it's going to cost you £12.10. Now, you can either use a card that costs £5 for a deposit, called the Oyster card, or now everybody has these contactless cards, and it will charge you no more than £6.50. It can charge you less, which a travel card can't do, but it can charge you no more than £6.50. So, for instance, if you are just going into London with, you're gonna your first time you're obviously gonna go do the big things, Buckingham Palace, all that. You're not gonna ride the tube that much. So therefore, it's not worth you paying for a travel card when you can just tap in and tap out with your contactless and only be charged for the amount or for the routes that you've taken. So I'm wholly against travel cards. I love the Oyster card. Contactless is the best way to go about it. Okay? So if you're not going to listen to me about anything else, don't get a travel card. Even though that one's £5.90, you could still be charged less. I think like one time Jane and I think we spent more than £3.50 on a trip or something like that. So I don't remember. Anyways, so we did station facilities. Okay, there's also Park Up, but there's also sorts of websites that you can look to see where to park. Like, Thetford doesn't have a lot of parking available in the area. But again, you could probably do the same thing if you're going to come and go during the day. You could probably walk if it's close enough, or you can cycle, or even take a taxi. It might save you more than parking, especially in Cambridge. Cambridge parking is extortionate. I refuse to pay for Cambridge parking. I'd rather cycle or ride the bus, but that's just me. So that is the first video on how to book your train ticket, the basic stuff. The next one is going to be how to save money. So hopefully soon I'll get that one done and give you all the information you can use to save money on your next train ticket.